Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. So, today we're doing something a little bit different and honestly, a lot of fun. I was looking through our source material and found this seriously intense genetics quiz blitz. And I thought, well, what better way to test our actual grasp on these concepts than by tackling it together? So, let's see how much we actually know.
All right, before we officially jump in, I need you to grab a pen and a piece of paper to keep score. Seriously, I'm gonna give us literally 5 seconds to get ready. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, pencils up, let's see how we do.
So, here's the scoring system we're working with today, and it is strictly point-based. You get 2 points for every correct answer, but, and this is a big but, you lose a point for every incorrect one. If you're not sure, skipping a question safely nets you a 0. We're going to have about 10 mental seconds for each question, so keep track and let's tally these up at the very end.
All right, let's kick things off with level 1 just to get our brains warmed up. Question 1. Who is known as the father of genetics? 10 seconds, starting right now. Try to think back to those early, foundational experiments that literally started this whole field. And time. The answer is, of course, Gregor Johann Mendel. Go ahead and give yourself 2 points if you got that one. It is just wild to think this entire, massive field of science started with his incredibly patient, meticulous work just growing pea plants.
Moving right along to question 2, what do we specifically call the alternate forms of a gene that occupy the exact same locus on homologous chromosomes? 10 seconds to think about the variations at a single genetic address. Tick-tock.
The answer is alleles, or, alleomorphs if you're feeling fancy. I actually found it so fascinating that Mendel originally just called these factors, but obviously in modern genetics, we universally know them as alleles. Add 2 points to your sheet if you nailed it. Let's keep this momentum going with question 3. If an organism has identical alleles at a specific gene locus, like, say, T, is that organism homozygous or heterozygous? Quick, get those answers locked in.
Boom! It's homozygous. Add 2 points. The source material also notes this is frequently called a pure organism simply because the genetic instruction is completely unmixed for that specific trait.
Okay, question 4, wrapping up our level 1 basics here. What specific term describes the physical appearance or the noticeable expression of a gene? Think about when a flower is visibly purple versus white.
The answer is phenotype. Now, this is an absolutely vital distinction to remember. Phenotype is the outward physical appearance, which is totally different from the genotype, right? Genotype is the underlying invisible genetic makeup. Don't mix those up. All right, stemming it up. Welcome to level 2, where we hit the math and the crosses. Question 5. In a standard Mendelian monohybrid cross, what exactly is the phenotypic ratio in the F2 generation? You've got 10 seconds to visualize that Punnett square in your head. Time. It's the classic 3-to-1 ratio. In that F2 generation, we see 3 parts dominant expression to 1 part recessive. Honestly, that ratio is basically the bedrock of all Mendelian genetics. 2 points if you got it, for sure.
Let's see if we can catch a twist for question 6. In cases of incomplete dominance, like what we see in the Mirabilis jalapa plant, what's the phenotypic ratio when crossing 2 pink F1 hybrids? Keep in mind, the standard rules definitely do not apply here.
And time's up. It's a 1-to-2-to-1 ratio. That's 1 red, 2 pink, and 1 white. It's such a famous contradiction to Mendel's standard 3-to-1 rule, simply because the dominant trait just doesn't completely mask the recessive one. It blends.
Question 7. What is the specific name of the cross where an F1 individual is crossed with the homozygous recessive parent, specifically to figure out that F1's hidden genotype? 10 seconds on the clock. This is a big one for exams.
That would be a test cross. It's basically a genetic magic key. By crossing with a known homozygous recessive, the resulting offspring perfectly reveal the hidden alleles of that unknown parent. Secure those 2 points if you got it.
All right, take a deep breath. We have reached the boss stage. These last 3 get pretty advanced. Question 8. If we mathematically sum up all the genotypes of all individuals in an entire population, what term is used for that massive collection?
The correct term is the gene pool. Now, if you guessed genome, you unfortunately have to subtract a point. It's a super easy mix-up, though. The gene pool is the population-wide sum, whereas a genome is just the total genes in a single haploid set of one individual. Tricky, right?
Question 9 is definitely a tough one. What is the phenotypic ratio for complementary genes, specifically looking at Bateson and Punnett's study on sweet peas? 10 seconds if you can pull this specific interaction out of your memory bank. It's the 9:7 ratio. This is such an incredibly unique interaction because two non-allelic genes must absolutely both be dominant to express the trait. If literally either one is missing, the trait just fails to show up altogether.
All right, here we are, the final question. Question 10. What do we call the specific type of inheritance that occurs between two alleles of a single gene? I'm going to give you a hint. Think back to Mendel's height trait for a clue on this one. 10 seconds. Make it count.
And time. The final answer is intra-allelic inheritance. And with that, guys, put your pens down because we made it to the end of the blitz. Let's take a quick second here to tally up those positive points, subtract any penalties, and calculate our final scores out of 20.
So, let's see where we all landed based on the source's grading scale. If you scored 95 to 100%, you are in the extraordinary tier. Amazing job! Between 75 and 80% is the average bracket, meaning it might be worth revisiting some fundamentals. And hey, if we scored below 75%, it looks like we both might need to go back and review those foundational concepts together. No big deal.
Before we go, the source material leaves us with a great reminder. Stay focused on your goals, but please take good care of your nutrition and sleep cycle. Love that. I hope you had as much fun with this quick-fire explainer as I did. Drop your final score in the comments below. I'm so curious to see how everyone did. But before we wrap up, it really makes you wonder, right? If these strict mathematical ratios govern everything from the color of a pea plant to complex human traits, what hidden genetic combinations are silently shaping the future of our species right now? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.